So I've been using Pixel 3a XL for a little under 2 weeks now, and I'm just going to say it right off the bat before we get into the whole in-depth review here. I have a lot of good things to say about this phone, and I think that Google is taking a step in the right direction. And speaking of Google, thank you Google again for having me as a part of Team Pixel and sending me this device free of charge for review. Without your help, this review would not be possible. And it's just really great that you reached out to a smaller creator like myself. It's not all the time that people, YouTube creators like me with my kind of sub count and just size get access to devices like this, like the top dogs do sometimes weeks before their launch. So it's been really great, and this has been an awesome opportunity. So thank you again, Google. So with all that said, without further ado, let's jump into my Pixel 3a XL full review. And no, I did not intend that to sound like it came out of a Dr. Seuss book. Oh my gosh. So beginning with design, when you hear polycarbonate, which is the material that Google used to create this phone's chassis, you think about, cheapness or a cheap quality. But this is not the case with this phone. And obviously, it's not going to feel premium. This is a plastic device. And if you want something premium, you're going to have to pay a premium to buy something like the Pixel 3 or 3 XL that feature metal and glass. But I'm just going to say this phone feels super solid in the hand, and Google has really made no compromises in terms of its look. It has retained a lot of the best design aspects that you find in the Pixel 3, like that matte and glossy texture or look to it, but this go around made out of polycarbonate in order to cut down on cost to keep this phone in an affordable price range. Some other design aspects of the Pixel 3a, you got this really highlighter yellow power button, and although it's not like my favorite color, it does give the phone extra character, and it is a unique design aspect of Pixel phones that I actually kind of like. In terms of the color scheme, they have a black color, they have a white color, and they have a purple-ish. And that kind of sounds weird on paper, but it's not. It sounds like it'd be obnoxious, but it's like an off-white purple, and it actually looks really nice and unique. And on top of that, they have this really dope case to go with it, which has this really nice textured cloth design. I've actually gotten compliments for this case. I really love the way it complements this phone's purplish color and just looks and feels in the hand once again. Two other great aspects of this phone's design. Number one, they managed to cram a headphone jack into this phone of this price range. That's amazing. I actually used wired headphones with this device, and it was really convenient. And the second quality being the speakers. They're almost stereo, and I gotta tell you, they're loud and they sound amazing. If not better than those found in my XS Max, which kind of disappoints me. They have great sound separation, they have great punch and clarity. I love them. I actually have a musician friend who I showed this phone to, and he was like, damn, these are nice. So I'm not making this up. Some people gave me flack when I said this a couple of videos ago, but I truly think that these speakers in this phone are amazing for media consumption and just general music listening. Moving on to display, Google made some excellent choices here, which is funny how they do that with a cheaper phone rather than their actual flagship device that costs upwards of $900. There is no ugly 5-inch long notch, so bravo Google. Wow, it only took you this long. And in all seriousness, hopefully that translates to Pixel 4, we've yet to see. The bezels are definitely there. You have noticeable top and bottom ones and slightly noticeable side ones, but I'm not gonna lie, since Google didn't include a really ugly notch, I don't mind them much at all, and that's coming from someone who uses an iPhone XS Max on the daily. And I think the bezels are made up for by the excellent image quality with this device. You get great contrast, color, it's OLED, you got sharpness, it has great pixel density, it's like in the 400s, lower 400s, but still, great display on this phone, great for media consumption and YouTube watching and whatnot. I will say though, the brightness with this display isn't the greatest outdoors. I was at Cedar Point the other day and I could barely see my screen in direct sunlight, but once again, considering the price point and just the overall image quality of this display, not much to complain about here. Moving on to battery, I have done some tests with this device, used it for an entire day in different conditions. I've used it all day in one case and then actually out of town in another case. I went once again to Cedar Point the other day and I just brought my phone and only this phone with me purely to test it. I also brought a battery bank because we had a 6-hour bus ride, here and back, 6 hours in total. So I actually did make it through the day quite well, although standby time isn't as good as it is with iPhone, because iOS somehow is super good at sipping power. Android needs to get better at that. But yeah, overall, I've managed to get around 6 hours of screen on time, a little over that. My usage case is moderate to heavy. I do a lot of YouTube watching, a lot of media consumption, go on Instagram, I text, I call, I use the web or I surf the web. So yeah, overall, and I'm going to say it again, for a phone of this price range, it competes with the flagships. 6 hours of screen on time is nothing to bat your eye at and should be more than plenty for most people in their own, moderate-ish usage cases. And say you do end up draining the battery because you're insane and you're on your phone for like 8 hours a day, this phone features fast charging, so you shouldn't have nothing to worry about. If you forget to charge your phone or drain it super quickly, you can charge this phone to full capacity in like a little over an hour from my experience. So yeah, that is also a great feature to have. Although we don't have wireless charging here, it's completely understandable because once again, this is a sub $500 device. Fast charging again is a really great feature to have in this handset. Moving on to camera, this is one of the big topics here, and let me just tell you, I am really impressed. In the past, I've seen photos taken by reviewers and a couple friends who have Pixel phones, and I was like, damn. But after using this phone in person and just playing around with it, again, I am really impressed. Especially, and I'll say it again, and I'm gonna keep saying it, for a phone of this price range. This phone is $479, the Pixel 3a is $399. They take the same pictures, and they're just amazing. From my first-hand experience, some of the shots that I've taken with this phone, yeah, they're like a smartphone picture, but they're like nothing you've ever seen before. At least in my case, again, this is my first Pixel device. The post-processing is unreal, honestly. I mean, I say this genuinely, and like the portrait mode is just like, it's just perfect. Like, I don't know, I haven't seen anything better. Even with my $1,000 iPhone XS Max, I just love what the Pixel has been able to do again. And it appears to me that this camera setup has little to no compromises. Yes, we don't get 4K 60 video, which I think is kind of a rarely used feature anyway, because it has a lesser processor. We do get great low light performance in here, great autofocus, and optical image stabilization that actually doesn't suck, because some Android phones have it, but it's just not great. To backtrack a little bit, the photos that I've taken with this device have turned out almost all fantastic. Contrast and clarity play a huge role in Google Pixel photos, especially with the Pixel 3a here, and I really do enjoy that look. Dynamic range is also really great with the Pixel 3a, and although it's not present in every single photo because obviously smartphones are limited, they can't have everything super nicely exposed like some cinema camera, it is really great. And when dynamic range really does shine in a photo, it really looks amazing. You get so much value, and the photos just look like something taken with a DSLR in some cases, I think. Exposure for the most part too, although it's not perfect, and sometimes you have to, kind of tap on things to make sure things are properly exposed, and you might have to edit things if you're really particular. Exposure for the most part is decent. You got nice autofocus too, and the colors for the most part look nice, they pop, although they are a little more on the cooler side and may not be completely accurate to real life. In terms of video quality, while it may not be the iPhone XS Max, which is honestly the king of smartphone video at this point in my opinion, it does handle itself very well, and it has a special quality to it. Also, the Pixel photo look applies to Pixel video too. You get great contrast, great dynamic range, and it just looks like something out of a cinema camera sometimes. Not all the time. I mean, you can't just make the excuse, oh yeah, this phone looks like it was taken on something way more expensive. In some cases it does, once again, in some cases it doesn't, because at the end of the day, this is a smartphone and it does have its limitations with the small sensor size. But what I will say is the shots that I got at Cedar Point and of my car here that you're going to see just look really nice in terms of the color, the sharpness, the stabilization, both in 1080p and 4K. And again, the dynamic range is just insane here. Autofocus I found was really great too, and in some cases better than my iPhone as well. So that is also something to keep in mind, especially considering this phone's price point. Night sight is also an amazing feature. For the first time ever, I feel comfortable taking photos in really horribly lit places. Like I was at prom with my friends, and like I took a couple selfies and pictures there, and they turned out really decent for being shot in low light. And I know people are gonna say like, oh my god, P30 Pro is like much better. Yeah, but it's a lot more expensive. So keep in mind that you're getting the best of Pixel's low light performance in this $479 package, or a $399 package if you buy the Pixel 3a. The front-facing camera too is really nice. They brought that from the Pixel 3. It has a really nice wide field of view, which I really enjoy. And yeah, I've never taken more selfies with a smartphone than this one. It's just fun, especially with the portrait effect, which is just as good on the front camera as the back camera is with this device. The AI that Google uses or whatever to make that bokeh effect, it just looks incredible both ways. And yeah, I really do enjoy taking front-facing video and photos with this phone's front-facing camera once again. So yeah, overall the camera performance with this phone is just incredible, and it's just really awesome that Google managed to cram everything great about the Pixel 3's camera into this budget-oriented device. And yeah, I would just say the image quality, just like on the Pixel 3, is just super crispy and punchy and amazing to look at. And last but certainly not least, let's talk performance with the Pixel 3a here. And that's kind of been a controversial talking point with this phone because yes, it features a non-flagship processor, the Snapdragon 670, as opposed to an 845 or an 855. Google has decided to put money in other places, as we discussed, with the display, the camera, and other aspects, rather than with the guts or the hardware, like the processor, performance-oriented things here. But I don't think that's the biggest deal, because this is a stock Android device, and if the company dictates the hardware, And the software, you're bound to get optimization, which is totally evident with the Pixel 3a XL. With stock Android, we know there's like pretty much zero bloatware. There's like 20 apps pre-installed in this device when you first get it, and you do with it what you will afterward. Apps open pretty quickly and animations seem to go through their paces without much lag or stutter, but I will say, this device is not blazingly quick like a OnePlus device with a Snapdragon 845 or an 855. This is not your device if you want to get the best of the best in performance. I just started getting into cars, so if you're, get this lingo, imagine the Pixel 3a XL has a V6 twin turbo. It's fast. It's faster than most phones, but it's not overwhelmingly quick like a OnePlus phone, which has like a Snapdragon 845, which I'm going to equate to like a naturally aspirated V12 or like a V8 twin turbo, something more insane. This phone, again, does not have overwhelmingly fast performance, but it's way more than adequate, once again, even with a more mid-range processor like the Snapdragon 670. Multitasking and RAM management appears to be pretty great with this device as well. That might be a product of optimization, but yeah, this phone packs 4 gigs of RAM and I'm able to keep like a handful or more of apps open without having to reload, web pages and games and whatever I'm using. Biometrics with this phone are just what you need. The fingerprint sensor, once again, is conveniently placed. You tap it, you're in your phone. It's definitely more than adequate and quick. In terms of gaming, I don't do a ton of gaming, so watch a different video if you want to see some hardcore tests done. But what I will say is light games like Doodle Jump and Finger Driver, my usual suspects in my reviews, run really, really well, even with a Snapdragon 670. And to quickly touch on software experience, it's clean, it's stock. I've never had a stock Android phone before, so it's been a really great experience using the Pixel here. Some things that I want to note are the system haptics. I love them. Android phones by default have this vibrating thing happening when you type and you press stuff. I usually hate that, but the vibration motor in this phone is like kind of linear, kind of like Apple's haptic engine, and just tapping around and just interacting with the phone feels great, especially with the little click sound that you get with, interactions once again. I also really like the squeezability thing. I'm going to call it squeezability. I don't know exactly what it's called. Just squeeze to get Google Assistant. I thought it was kind of gimmicky at first, but it's actually really useful if you just want to call somebody or text somebody without having to go into your phone. You just squeeze the phone and talk to Assistant as you normally would. Again, super convenient feature there. Anyway, to sum things up, the Pixel 3a and AXL for $399 and $479, also considering or factoring in all of the incentives that you might get for buying this phone, $100 gift cards, money off, trade-in values, so at the end of the day, you're not paying the full upfront price for it anyway. This phone that Google has offered is just a killer deal, a killer value, and a killer package. So if you want a phone with a really decent display, an insane camera, and a more than adequate design, battery life, and performance overall, this is the phone to get right now. And it won't hurt your wallet like the iPhone XS Max. And this phone does so many of the same things at the same quality for so much less money. Anyway, it's been a hell of a review here. I've been recording this A-roll for like 45 minutes. I haven't done a review like this for a while. It's been fun. Thank you once again, Google, for sending me this phone and having me as part of Team Pixel. It's been an honor and a privilege. I hope you enjoyed this review. I'd really appreciate it if you leave a like on this video, comment if you have any questions or suggestions, and subscribe for more content like this. And as always, I'm Noah, and I will catch you all in the next one.